Leo's Legion, it's your three down bros back again for another look at your Lions discussions, rattle around topics. We're going to take a look at the team as it stands right now, heading into our 2024 Grey Cup hosting season. Let's kick it around now. Leo's Legion, how's everybody doing? It's your three down bros, Roland, Arthur, and Greg, back for, as I said off the top, the 2024 Grey Cup hosting season. Yes, it's Grey Cup or bust. The Lions have the big party here in Vancouver this year. Mr. Doman's got the present ready to unwrap. So we're going to take a look at the team, as I said, how it stands right now, looking at the changes. And I want to address the biggest change that has been a bee in my bonnet, a rock under my saddle for the entire offseason, and that is the receiving core. Let me tell you, a plethora of riches back in 2023. What was it? Pick your poison. You had Dominique, you had Hatcher, you had Hollins, you had Whitehead, you had Katoy. You had a bundle of riches for VA to pick from, for Jordan Maksimic to master the game plan around. Well, now it's a hole. We've got Hatcher, Hollins, and Katoy coming back, and McInnes kind of filling a spot. But let's look at that. Hatcher is out for who knows how long because of that injury in the Western Final last year. We've got McInnes picking up a load of what I don't know if he's familiar or able to quite yet. Have to see it to believe it. Hollins, my jury's been out on him all year last year. He makes those catches in the wide open spots, but I'm not sure how he's going to handle adversity unless something's changed between last season and this season. And the biggest, most glaring elephant in the room is the lack of Lucky. The lack of Lucky Whitehead coming back to the fold as your experience, as your face, as a go-to guy when Hatcher is out for an undetermined amount. We need that experience going into the Grey Cup season. We need that steadying influence for VA to look to during the games because we got to get off to a good start because the West looks like it's done everything to improve on all facets. Other show coming for that. But Lucky Whitehead is still out there, not part of the fold. And what did the article say? Not expected to be part of the fold. Well, I'm sorry. All these American receivers we're bringing in for training camp, do we have the time to let them adjust to the Canadian game? Because we have heard it, I don't know how many times, they need time to adjust. They're just learning the game. We don't have that kind of time, nor does Mr. Doman. He's been pretty patient, but I don't want to see what happens when his patience is tested because I don't know if I want my patience tested. Lack of Lucky is I'm going to be calling it for the rest of the year until I see him back in this jersey. Lack of Lucky is going to have ramifications and ripples in the most negative way. If we want to talk balancing of the checkbook, net loss is greater than net gain for the receivers. What do you guys think?
Well, you sure do make a good point, Greg. We've lost, our top, our top two receivers either through not being signed, or being injured. However, I am still hopeful because some of these young receivers showed a lot of promise. I'm looking at Katoy. I'm looking at McInnes, who maybe didn't get a lot of chances last year, maybe until maybe towards the end, but I think they showed promise. So, have we seen their full potential? I don't think so. I think they still have a lot of potential to grow into, and I'm pretty hopeful that they could they could step up. And Hatcher is definitely coming back at some point in the season, maybe later in the season. So that makes me hopeful as well.
Yeah, it's a massive loss. I mean, there's no you can't sugarcoat it. Um, massive loss. I mean, Rhymes was top two last the previous year before this past year. Hollins was top four. So I mean, you kept Hollins, Hatcher, another top receiver this year. And he's consistently been near the top of like I think catches or receiving yards per game, because he missed some games last year as well. He's been right at the top or near the top. So you lose him for, say, most likely 2/3 of the season. So you're losing him for like 10, 11, 12 games, and that's big. You lose Rhymes because he didn't want to take a pay cut. So then he went to sign with Ottawa. So you lose him. He had a great start and then just not a great finish. Hollins, I'm with you, made some good catches, but he was the number 4 receiver in terms of notoriety, right? Because you had Hatcher, Rhymes, Whitehead, kind of ahead of him. But you got to give him credit, like what Roland said. Young guy, not very young, but younger. He came up and he was relied on, and he made some big catches down the stretch. Big catches, a lot of yardage. So you got to give him credit. He stepped up. Now in the playoffs, he wasn't prominent, so that was a concern for Hollins. Katoy and McInnes, two guys. I think they were probably the number 5, number 6 receivers coming into last season, beginning of last season. They're your number 5 and number 6 receivers in the depth chart. And now they're like, with Hatcher on the sidelines to begin the year, they're your number 2 and number 3, with Hollins being your number 1 go-to receiver. And these two guys are now your 2 and 3. Now you can like try to figure out which one is 2 and which one's 3. They're both Canadian receivers. They both got around 800 yards. They were prominently targeted near the end of the season, and into that last regular season game, the lines were just throwing to them. I think that was the game Calgary was just trying to, like, seemed like they're trying to injure the Lions receiver. Sorry, I said the Canucks, but big Canucks win today, so I had to like fight that team.
Right. Big huge win.
Big huge win, yeah. So, and then in the Western semi, again, a lot more attention faced to them with Hatcher, of course, and then in the Western Finals. So I'm a little concerned, quite concerned. I'm with you there, Greg. They lost quite a bit, and my only, I guess the reasoning is the salary cap, right? Because you had to, they wanted to spend money on Hollins, so they had to give him the big money, and they had to give the big money to Katoy. Both, so they had to give those guys the big money, and that means that they try to renegotiate Rhymes out, and he pretty much out, and that's probably why Lucky is not with us. Is they just ran out of space, and they're not closing the door, Greg, but it's very unlikely. They're not closing the door, though.
No, but that door, I think, is just based on what we've heard and what we've read. Again, I can only go on that. That door is not, there's not very much space in that ajar, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I appreciate all the points from you, my two brothers. They are all fully appreciated and fully agreed. I'm not a stats guy. I'm a guts guy. My heart always takes over this, and you guys know that, and I'm probably so do our viewers. But to me, if I just look on paper, Rhymes, okay, he's gone, but McInnes, you're tall, height advantage, silky smooth guy, medium to maybe deep receiver. To me, if McInnes can show me he can shoulder a greater workload, then to me that's an even up. Katoy, he's a proven commodity. When he gets that ball, he is hard to bring down. He gets those yak yards. But having him as a more featured receiver because he's got more experience and he has to take up the load in with what we've been missing or what we are missing, are you taking him out of that valuable blocking role that he's been in? Again, I'm not going to go into the offensive line, but you're now taking a piece away from where he was before. And now you've got Hatcher again rest on the sidelines for we don't know how long. But again, he was injured, I think, going into last season too, and he came back what 6 games in. Legs were rested. That's great, and that's the silver lining in here. He's going to be well rested and fresh legs. But how much time is there going to be for him to get into up to game speed, into game groove? Because he can't be doing a lot of conditioning right now, nursing an Achilles. Hollins, he's, as you say, pegged as the number one receiver, and I'm going out on a limb, all due respect to number 13, but misappropriation of funds. I'm saying some of those funds should have gone back to lucky number 7 because Hollins, as you said, was not that prominent in the playoffs. And secondly, I saw one too many times people having to back him down on the sidelines because adversity was taking over and he was losing the battle. And if he is now tagged as the number one receiver and teams scheme to take him out of the game plan, how is he going to handle being double covered, jammed, tugged on, poked on, punched on, not getting a ball thrown to him? Because I remember, again, like I said, one too many temper tantrums last year because the ball was not coming to him. Yet you have a seasoned veteran like Lucky Whitehead. He's not game planned in as prominent, but you don't see him throwing a tantrum. The ball's not coming to him. Heck, you didn't even see him throw a tantrum because he didn't even start the playoff game. Ultimate team player. We need that. Again, to me, with this year being Grey Cup or bust, I don't think we have the time. Not one iota of my body feels that we got the time to let any of these new American receivers learn their way into this game. And like I said, ripples and ramifications negative. Not only I think are they going to feel the missing of Lucky Whitehead and his experience on the field, they're going to feel it off the field. That was the face of this franchise. He was community outreach. He was community engagement. I don't see anybody feeling those shoes to make up for that net loss either. So to me, Lions management, Lions coaching staff, that's a big oops in this, a very crucial Grey Cup hosting year. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm taking to the bank. And I'm done.
All right. Yes, definitely we'll need to see how it goes. Thanks, Greg. So we'll move on. I'm going to go to the next segment now. What I want to talk about is our running game. Last year, we saw very evidently that was the biggest hole in the Lions. We were strong in a lot of areas, and we were truly a Grey Cup contender if it weren't for our lack of a running game. That allowed our opponents to basically negate our strong passing play. So we've talked lots about that. So this year, I'm a little bit hopeful, but still holding my holding my thoughts because we got Stanback, who is a proven commodity, but he is older. Now we saw that he was able to produce for Montreal when it really counted at the end of the season. But how much gas is left in there? Okay, so but that's hard to say, right? So I'm kind of split. I'm positive because the fact that our organization got Stanback means that they realized that this was a hole that needed to be plugged. So they brought a veteran in. So we got Stanback. We still have Mizell, and I think we still have Hardy, right? So between those three, how are we going to scheme our running plays? We've got, if we have like a 1-2 punch kind of thing, that might be cool. But as I said, I'm slightly optimistic, but I'm still holding my judgment until we see what happens. Guys, what do you think?
Arthur?
Well, I think Steinbach. His question is, does he have gas in the tank? And he gets injured now more frequently. Had a good Grey Cup game.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe they weren't game planning against him. Hey, it's nice that they brought our running back in. That they're putting money where their mouth is in terms of we want to shore up the running game. What Stanback's mentioned in those media interviews is McSimic said have they want to commit to the more of the run this year, and I think they're going to need to. They're with how Greg chronicled, we lost some receiver depth, star power. That running, a more balanced attack is definitely necessary. Whether can they do it? They have pretty much the same O line. They have Katoy now, but Katoy, like I think what you mentioned, Greg. Now Katoy might need to be your number 2 receiver. Can he really stay in the box and block? Like he's got to get out and try to get open.
Yeah, they probably get like their
So
number 4, number 5 receiver to do the blocking at that point.
yeah, so I mean, you already have 2 Canadian receivers with him and McInnes in your top 3, top 4. So they might have to bring in someone else, another big body in, just to help with pass protection. We'll see. But if the OC McKismick will stay with the run, then I think Stanback should have a good season. If not, then we have some other guys that hopefully another year of seasoning in the CFL that they'll find their way. Here's one thing for you, Roland. I was reading this is I think they're paying Stanback the same amount as James Butler is being paid in Hamilton.
Wow.
Because I think Butler was like entry level guy for us.
Yes.
And then he got a big increase. Well, the big is relative, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't. I mean, none of these guys are getting Oliveira money, like over 200K, right? I think they're like on south of 150 or thereabouts. So, yeah, I mean, Butler would have been nice to have last year, but we didn't win with Butler, and he usually runs well against like Edmonton. But mind you, I think we run well against Edmonton, even with any running back. Sorry, Chris Jones. But then against the Bombers, we get shut down. So this question is, I think Stanback maybe has a better chance to do something against the Bombers. Yeah. What do you think, Greg?
Well, I'm going to use the term tentatively optimistic. Stanback played, to me, great in the Grey Cup game because he was the unknown, the X factor. And I do remember reading an article that Montreal, the way they game plan to counter that Winnipeg rush with the running game, to attack the edges versus the middle, worked to a charm. But can Stanback have that Grey Cup effort, like Roland says, over a 16-game season at his age? Because, I mean, a running back, that position takes a pounding every time they touch the ball, even if he gets 5 or 6 yards, which would be great. How many pounds is he taking on the way to that 5 or 6 yards? Yeah. And again, the O-line, for a reserve for another discussion, another episode. Are they going to be better to make the running game better? Again, they go hand in hand to me. But if we have a 1-2 punch, a la Millington and Philpott back in the day, just watching one of those Grey Cup games, or the Drummond Millington 1-2 punch. If we could have anything like that, like a quick scat back and a pounding back, or a combination of the two with 2 backs. Maybe that plethora of riches that the receiving core was now will become our backfield, and maybe use them as receivers out of the backfield to make up for what I was griping about loss-wise. So, as Roland is, I am tentatively optimistic. The proof will be in the pudding come training camp and game 1 to see how that running game is. But to me, it feels, again, no stats, just pure emotion in my gut. It feels like a huge step forward. For teams, if they shut the receiving core down like they did last year and dare us to beat them with the run, now they might think twice.
Yeah, definitely, it's a step forward, and it makes us a little bit more balanced. We did lose on we're a notch or 2 down on the receiving core, but if we're a notch or 2 up on the running, will that end up in a more balanced and overall a better production and offense? Hard to say. One thing I really like about Stanback is he has a north-south attitude, right? He hits the whole hard and he goes. We kept criticizing Mizell last year that he has dancing feet, right? He can't commit. And maybe with a veteran in the fold, Mizell might change his ways.
And one more thing, if I might add.
Yeah.
You know, like we have Prukop as a backup quarterback. So Winnipeg did running sets with him. He would come in, and sometimes it wouldn't be third down or short yardage. It would just he'd be like, "Oh, he's still at quarterback," and he's like doing these running more like where like an RPO, but he's keeping the ball a lot of the time. So we do now have that weapon
Yeah.
that we can utilize as part of the running game. We don't have to rely on Adams's feet, and we don't want to
Yes.
over a long season.
Yes.
But we do have that now. We have that flair. We can use that.
Yeah.
That's one thing to help with the running game, which we will need, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely good point. And I think we should do that. You know, that's being creative, right? Being creative, keeping our opponents on their toes. And we know that Stanback is old and that he's older and he's more fragile. But if we have a 1-2 punch where if Mizell can be trained up, you know, to follow, to not have dancing feet and to have, you know, a more of a threat, then we don't need to play Stanback every down. That'll preserve his health, keep him strong, you know, down the end of the season. I mentioned to you guys, you know, one of the strategies for Andrew Harris was to not play him for the whole season and just play him at the end, right? And he can go 100%. So if we could preserve, you know, Stanback, you know, who knows? I mean, you know, these are all possibilities. So it's just a wait and see, but you know, cautiously optimistic. All right, so let's move on to Arthur. Arthur, what's your beef?
The biggest change from last year to this year for me is the leadership. We have a massive leadership void. I'll just start with the quarterback. We lost Dane Evans. He's won playoff games in the past. We lost him to retirement. We're going to lose Hatcher for half, 2/3 of the year. We're going to lose TJ Lee, another Achilles injury. And again, we don't know, half, 2/3 of the year. We lost receivers. We lost Rhymes. We lost Whitehead. I mean, we lost a lot of leaders. And some guys are coming back, you know, 1/3 of the season left. But we lost a lot of guys. We lost Betts as well, another leader on the defensive line. We lost him as well. So we've been bleeding leaders. So my concern is the Lions last year. If you guys remember my rants, I was always wondering if they can fight through adversity, and now we've lost established CFL experienced leaders. Will we be able to overcome this leadership void? I know that the other people will now need to step up. So we're in a wait and see to see who can step up consistently. I'm concerned. What do you guys think? Roland, let's start with you. What do you think about the leadership concern?
Absolutely good point. So there's, I mean, we only have two things that we can depend on to try to fill that void, I think, in my mind. One is to lean more heavily on Adams. And we've talked in the past about Adams' type of leadership. You know, he's a quiet leader. He leads by example, but he's not a rah-rah type of leader. You know, he will lead as a servant leader, and people will see his actions and they will respect him and they will go 110% for him. You know, they will play for him. They will play their guts out for him. So that's good. That's still there. That hasn't changed. What we don't have is the rah-rah type of leader. You know, if we've lost the momentum, we need to rally the troops and get the momentum back. I don't know who that's going to be. So the only choice we have is for someone to rise up. So someone who's already in the locker room to rise up. And what I'm hoping for is that, you know, these are pro players. They've been playing football for, 10 years, since they were kids, right? So they know what it takes to rally the troops. So it's not like they don't know what to do. So can someone rise up and do that? One or two people? That's a question. And I'm hoping that the answer is yes. Greg?
Absolutely, totally agreed. The leadership is a huge huge component of success, and we need it more than ever. Again, as I said, this is a Grey Cup or bust year. You're hosting the party. You don't want to not be at that party, and I thoroughly agree. Arthur, you that was it was. I don't. It wasn't in my mind, but we beat a dead horse about leadership because this team could not handle adversity last year. They always imploded. We saw it time and time again, and it frustrated us. I can't imagine what it was like in that locker room or with the fans in the stands paying their ticket money. But yeah, that is our only option is to have somebody rise up. Yeah, VA, he said, yeah, let's go, let's go, let's go. But when he's on the field, he's not that rah rah. He is like, I'll go out there and I got to do what I got to do. And then if it doesn't go, we just got to hope that old VA doesn't creep in, that he starts trying to do too much and lead by too much example. And yes, the only option is to have somebody in that locker room rise up. But to me, it's got to be someone that's already on the team that's commanded the respect of the other players. Some new guy coming in, the lines are all for the culture, but if he doesn't have that earned respect from going out there in blood and guts, he's not going to be able to step up even if he wants to. Now, if he goes out there game one or two and shows he's got whatever it takes to be that leader and then commands it, then again, I'm going to use tentatively optimistic. We got to hope that guy's in that training camp, a wave of new players coming in, or we got to hope maybe Mizell rises up, maybe Standback, because he is an established vet with the league, new to the team, but he's got a resume. He's got a Grey Cup ring, for heaven's sakes. And maybe it's going to be him. Maybe he goes out there and runs somebody over, runs through somebody, and that gets the team pumped up. But definitely we need that because, as I said in my rant, certain players don't handle adversity well on this team, and you better have grown up right away because, hey, we've seen on the little shorts there's been mini camps and everything already, but that's not adversity. That's just running routes, running patterns, getting plays down. That other leadership to me has got to come from the leaders, management, coaching, coordinators on down. Management made their decision to go with this roster that we've got as it stands going into training camp. Well, then you better put your money where your mouth is because you put your money where your brains weren't, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not going back there. Now you've got Jordy Mack, one of the up-and-coming minds of offensive football. Well, you've got this roster. You better be creative with it, and maybe you stand back and myself as a 1-2. Maybe you better scheme with the receivers that you've got, and you better have a scheme to handle adversity. Like those proven pass plays, proven running plays that start chipping at getting momentum back. So to me, you need a player to step up in the locker room, but you need those guys to put those players in the right spot to succeed. And management has put this team together as it is. If the owner, Mr. Doman, is putting all his faith in this staff of coaches and management, then they better do something to earn their money for the money they paid those players.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing, Arthur?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I think is really important is collectively the team has to have the belief that they can overcome that adversity, because that's something that we've all admired about Winnipeg. No matter for the last how many years, when they're down, they don't fold. They're still calm. They're still collected because they've seen it before. They know that they can battle back. They know that they can turn it around. They know that they can win on the last quarter, the last few minutes. How do you develop that? I think the way to develop that is by each player, stepping up and making the plays, right? So if we start off the season with a few difficult games and yet we're able to eke out a win, that belief starts to build up, right? And then once you have that belief, then when adversity comes, they can always point back, hey, that game number 4, we were down, 7 points, we battled it back and we won. So that belief has to develop, and yeah, that takes leadership. That takes leadership, like you said, Arthur.
I mean, I'm glad you guys brought up Standback. So obviously, a veteran in this league, so he can add something. Keontae Evans in the secondary, I think he's going to pretty much take over TJ's spot in the secondary. The rest of the secondary is pretty much back except for Dalen Edward Cooper's. Mind you, he was just on his entry level. So I heard Peters is going to pick up some of the leadership void. maybe Keontae Evans. He's been in the league for a while. He'll have to pick up some of it, and maybe now our linebackers have to pick it up a little bit. I mean, you lost Betts on the D line, which was had an outstanding year. What a massive year!
Mhm.
And then now you brought in Pete Robertson. I mean, he's not.
Just when I bought the jersey too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hey,
that's
we're all
right.
in that boat, guys.
We're all in that boat. But
We
now
are
Robertson's come in.
nowhere near responsible for the departure of the players that we represent here.
Yeah. So Robertson's in, so helping out with that. So collectively, yeah, I like that, but we'll have to see. Like when if you guys watch those behind the scenes episodes of the Lions throughout the year, right? You notice who is the raw guys. It's like TJ's a raw guy, and then he's gonna be out, but he's still gonna be with the team. But again, and then like Rhymes was actually a raw guy quite a bit. I was kind of surprised, and yeah, those are two leaders. I mean, VA will be there; he'll take his turn, right? But I think they don't want one guy always doing it. They were kind of rotating that position, so we'll see, But again, we're hopeful. It's gonna be a little rough in the beginning as people are gonna step up to fill the leadership void, and hopefully VA, those three solid receivers, maybe some new guys, the running game. Pretty much the defense is back. We lost Betts, we lost Woody, we lost Jaden Leonard Cooper, and we lost Moje. But pretty much,
You got Stove coming back, hopefully healthy. You've got Robertson, as you said. So, to me, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a drop off from the most outstanding defensive player in Betts. But again, if you can collectively pick up the sack total, you know,
you need
and
to
we've
pressure
got
the quarterback. Yeah,
Yeah.
like 100%. Stop the run. We talked
another
about that.
episode.
Another episode. But that's it for me. But yeah,
Right.
I think that's it for me.
All right. Thanks. Awesome, guys. So, if you're watching this, we are really excited for the preseason to start and to get into the season. So, yeah, we've got a lot of things queued up this season for you. We're going to be at each game. At the end of each game, we're going to give you a very short preview as to what our thoughts on the game, our immediate reactions. So keep an eye out for that. And then we're going to continue on with our weekly episodes. And at some point this season, we're going to start live streaming. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to set up a specific date and time every week, and we're going to be live streaming these episodes. So really excited for that. If you've hung around with us since season 1,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate interacting with you guys. If you're new, you just saw this this time around, then we hope that you'd hang around and chat with us. Whether you agree or disagree with any of our points, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, until the training camp starts, this is Roland, Arthur, and Greg signing off until preseason. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging on. Thank you for hanging out. And we're looking forward to some chats and opinions from a whole pile of new fans.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah. Go Lions and go Canucks.
Go Canucks. That's right. Big win today. And like and subscribe.
Thanks.
All right. Awesome.
What's the official timer there?
I got 9:35, so we're about 30 minutes.
40 minutes maybe?
Yeah, about 30.